Strap into your seats and get ready. It's time for the Mortarpod.
Hey, it's Alex from SeemsGoodMagic.com. Welcome to this week's episode of the Mortarpod. We're officially on iTunes now, so you can follow us. Just type in the Mortarpod into iTunes and click subscribe, and yeah, that would really help me gauge how many listeners we have, and hopefully it'll help us contact and communicate with you guys a little bit easier. Also, it should help us or help you find us easier. So if we're still with the MTG Cast Network, we're just also on iTunes as well. So search us out for that. The Mortarpod is also brought to you by VarenCamp.com. Scott Varencamp designed SeemsGoodMagic.com. He did a great job, so I always point people towards his website and portfolio. That's VarenCamp.com, VerenKamp.com. Follow us on Twitter at SeemsGoodMagic. You can also email me at mortarpod@seemsgoodmagic.com, and I respond to all messages I get on there, so feel free to message me with any questions, concerns, criticisms, anything you want to talk to me about. Still in the process of working on the board game. I'm in playtest mode right now. It's going to be a few more months before I'm going to have a beta ready, but I really like where this game's heading, and I think you guys will too. So if you're a big fan of tactical combat games like Final Fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons, and you're a big fan of Magic the Gathering, I really think you're gonna like what I've designed with this game. So, all right, we'll start the podcast. Hey guys, Alex Stevenson, Jake Face here.
What's up?
Welcome to the Mortarpod, and this week going through some more standard, how we did at F&M, what we're playing, and then we're gonna try a new little segment where we're gonna go over some weird named Magic cards. So every week we're going to try and come up with a set, in this case, of cards that have weird names. And I mean, there's like probably hundreds of cards with weirdo names, I'm sure.
Or play on word type names even.
Yeah, but mostly like goofy, weirdo, funny because they're so weird names. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of unhinged ones now that I think about it.
Yeah,
so
we
we'll
can
have
almost
to
exclude unhinged and
we have to,
because
yeah, we have to be conscious of that, because that
they're
was
just going to.
That was intentionally trying to be funny. But some they weren't, and then they're unintentionally funny, which is funny in itself. Unintentional humor. So, Jake, why don't you go through your F&M, well, what you're running, some of the cards if you want to name specifics.
I'm playing Esper Control, and I am running pretty much a standard Esper list, I think. I am running Ashiok. I don't think other Esper decks lately have been running Ashiok. I still like it. It can get you kill conditions and other stuff like that, so it's still worthwhile. Yeah, I guess that's about it. I went 3-1 in the Swiss and lost in the first round of top 8 at our F&M. My first round opponent was green-white, mid-range, I guess. Voice of Resurgent, Advent of the Worm, everything like that, basically. Lockdown Smiter, etc. Everything green-white. So I beat him, and then round 2 I played Bug, black, blue, green control, and that one was a little more interesting. I lost because I misplayed. It was really sad, actually. I had been doing it correctly the whole time. We were on turns, or maybe we weren't on turns. Maybe
no, you were. I think you were.
And I forgot. I attacked with my Aetherling, forgot to blink it out, and I would have been able to kill him on the following turn. And because I didn't blink it out, I wasn't able to block one of his creatures that I needed to block.
And it was a matter of 1 damage,
yeah,
too.
And it was a matter of 1 damage that
he was at
I
5.
needed to prevent.
Yeah, and he needed to prevent 1 ground blocker.
So it was really sad. I really am really disappointed. However, I would have won that if I had not forgotten. The really terrible part about it is that I was doing it for the whole, like, prior to that point. That's what I was doing, was blinking it out after I attacked with it.
And
so,
then on like the most
the
important turn.
absolute most important turn, I forget to do it. Yeah, it was terrible. But I lost that one, 2-1. And then I played America Control, and I beat that deck.
So maybe name some of the cards that were
important for those matchups.
or yeah, in your deck, or what was problematic, I guess, with the bug deck that you lost against.
The bug deck. I mean, there weren't really any.
He was running Jaces.
Necessarily problems.
He was doing Prognostic Sphinx.
Yeah,
so,
Sphinx was actually probably the biggest problem because it really requires me to Supreme Verdict it away.
Is that card the real deal, you think?
It's decent. It avoids all spot removal, so against the mono black field, it's really good.
Wait, what's
he also played Desecration.
What's the name of that? Oh, Prognostic. Yeah.
He also played Desecration Demon.
So it's flying, and it gains hexproof when you discard a card.
Then you
have to tap it. Okay.
But it also scries 3 when you attack.
That's kind of cool, actually. I had actually forgotten about the discard a card clause. So it does have
the hexproof protect itself is actually really important to make this card decent.
Yep.
And so he was playing it alongside Desecration Demons and Night Veil Specters.
So
trying to think. And
straight
Sylvan
blue black. Okay.
Yeah. So it was
what
blue
was
green.
Oh, yeah. For like Abrupt Decay or something, or
I think so. There must have been something else. Maybe even
Putrefy.
Yeah. Like there's stuff in green that you might want to do. But yeah, it's mostly on the back of single elimination spell, or like single targeted removal spells, and then also the flying creatures that he has.
So it was like Doomblades and stuff like that.
And Hero's Downfall.
Oh yeah, Hero's Downfall, of course.
Yeah.
Up to $20 now or something.
He also had Vraska, which was really good.
Which is just crazy.
There's no E in that version of Heroes.
Hero?
Yeah.
Demise, Heroes Downfall, yeah. So pretty much a murder with a Planeswalker clause on it, yeah. Kind of weird picture. Is it being stepped on by like a demon or something?
Minotaur.
A Minotaur, okay. But okay, so then you said after that, he said, I think he told me, because I played him in round 4, he told me he wasn't running Counterspell's main deck. It was just like negates on the sideboard pretty much for his control match, I'm sure. So definitely, even though it was blue, it wasn't running Counterspell.
No, it was a different kind of like,
mid-range build. It was like removal plus value creatures or something like that. All right, so your next match after Bug was
then I played America Control.
So that was doing like a Symbol of Legion, right?
That's one of his kill conditions. Elspeth also. Then it was just counter magic, and he played a lot more counter magic than I did even. And he played Sphinx's Revelation, War Leader's Helix, other burn spells, I'm sure. And his own Supreme Verdict, stuff like that.
Okay.
It wasn't like just a really simple, matchup. But the thing about control versus control is it's always like who can accumulate the most most lands, and then start playing their threats. But in the first game that we played, I knew that he was going to go control, so I was playing everything that he would want to counter early so that later on I could counter his stuff without any problems. And that strategy worked okay. And then in our last game, I sort of slow rolled it a little more. And because I brought in Dispels and Negates, so I could actually get into a counter war in the last game because I had already sideboarded or whatever. And that made it a little easier to handle. The control matchup's not my favorite thing. Control versus control is so annoying.
How many negates are you doing on the side?
Just two. 2 negates, 2 dispels out of the side.
Okay. Dispel being pretty awesome. That play well.
It's good enough. It's good for Hero's Demise or Hero's Downfall and
Dissolve.
Dissolve. Any
Their own
counter spell,
negates, yeah.
really. Sphinx's Revelation.
Oh, Sphinx's Revelation's a great one. Yeah.
I feel like there must be more. I just can't think of it.
Zori's Charm.
Yeah.
Anything.
There's a lot, actually. Even I think I counted a War Leader's Helix with one.
Yeah, and you beat him.
Really good.
I mean, were you beating with Mill consistently, or did you also do it with Aetherling?
I think the last game I definitely beat him with just Mill. And
Ashiok and Big Jace.
Yeah, Ashiok, Big Jace. And the first game, I can't remember how I beat him, actually. It might have just been off Aetherling. Could have also been off Elspeth. Who knows?
Yeah, you're right. Actually, Elspeth's a great win con. You're running 2 of those, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't realize there was that much text on the Scars one. Yeah, so Elspeth, Sun's Champion, is turning out to be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely read well, but I was skeptical because of the 6 mana cost.
You're never 6 mana Planeswalker.
Yeah, it had to be 6 mana, and it plays really well at 6 mana. And a lot of people are still playing Garrick, too. So I finally saw Garrick be played a little bit, and he looked good. I mean, looking at the top 5 or whatever, and putting all creatures in your hand, if you're the right deck for that, that could be great.
Yeah.
Even if you're running a bunch of ramp creatures, you could find some value out of it.
I kind of look at Elspeth as being similar to Nicol Bolas Planeswalker, where her plus is really actually quite good, and something that you can activate all the time. So she's like a kill condition, similar to the way Nicol Bolas would have been if you would have been able to play him,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, how often are you using that second ability?
One time against my America Control opponent, he tapped out with an Aetherling out, and I used it against him to kill his...
That was a good idea.
Yeah, Aetherling. Because Aetherling is obviously good. Just
such a threat.
Yeah.
It's such a ridiculous hard threat to deal with. Yeah, that's funny too, and it's cheap, right? I mean, is it in a precon or something, or
Aetherling?
Yeah.
No, it's just cheap.
I think we talked about it a little bit. It's cheap because people are playing like one.
Yeah.
You don't need more than one.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were having to run a playset, it might be a more expensive spell. I mean, it also limits itself to one type of strategy. It's not like you're running Aetherling in any sort of deck, right?
No, you want to be control because this is going to be your finisher.
Yeah, and it's a mana intensive finisher too. But God, this card is good. Really annoying to play against.
Totally.
Okay, so you played against the American Control. You beat it in a tight match.
Yeah.
What did you play after that?
I played a red-green monstrous deck, and
so what kind of the threats are we talking about?
He had Ember Swallower, and that was probably the biggest thing to name because it was like a precon. It was the red-green precon intro pack or whatever, and he just added more Ember Swallowers to it. So he had a lot of those in there, but
okay. And probably Mr. Polykranos, right? Of course.
No.
Interesting.
It wasn't. That's what I'm saying. It was like an intro pack.
Oh, I see.
And he added.
But you said, it had like Gorklan Rampager, right? Okay. I still like Gorklan Rampager a lot. But yeah, I know the guy you're talking about. Yeah, the kid you're talking about, as a matter of fact. But I mean, that happens. Okay, so you pretty much just beat that deck pretty soundly. I mean, even if a kid with an intro pack wasn't piloting it, I think even the mid-range red-green in general doesn't have a great matchup against your Esper.
Yeah, it's true.
It's too reliant on
maintaining a board presence.
Yeah, and it's too slow to do it. Okay, so what'd you play after that?
And then in top 8, I played against mono white aggro.
Yeah.
And that was actually a hard one. I think the lesson I learned is that I just need to get rid of their Judge's Familiars as soon as possible. So I need to target their creature as soon as I can, the one that I don't want to, or that I actually want to kill, make them sack their Judge's Familiar, because I could have actually come out of a game if I would have been able to land an Elspeth or whatever, but he had a bunch of pump effects, so he could fly in still, and that was my biggest problem. And I never wanted to take out the Judge's Familiar, but it's so important to get rid of it. So that was the lesson I learned there.
That's a good deck too.
Yeah.
Because it's got good one drops.
It's got tons of one drops.
Yeah, it's got the familiar. It's got the Soldier of the Pantheon, the Dryad Militant.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he was doing like Precinct Captain or something like that.
Precinct Captain too.
Boros Elite, another great one drop. So the deck just like really gets 3 creatures easily. He also has Mutavaults in there. So I like that list a lot too. Brave the Elements. I mean, it's back. If you're doing mono white, why the hell not? I actually got a chance to look at his deck. He was also doing what's the M14? You gain life when you attack, and your creature
Path of Bravery.
Path of Bravery, which is kind of a unique little twist. 3-mana enchantment. As long as your life total is greater than or equal to your starting life total, creatures you control get +1/+1. Whenever one or more creatures you control attack, you gain life equal to the number of attacking creatures. So, interesting spell. I think that was actually paying off for him really well all day. But he was also doing Spear of Heliod, so he had multiple ways to pump his one-drop creatures, so they got real strong real fast. I'm kind of interested how my deck would fare against that, since they're both hyper-aggressive. He's got the Brave protection, but I've got a lot of spot removal, so it's kind of tough to say, actually. I'm not sure. I'm interested in knowing.
I mean, the fact that he doesn't have, like, really good protection from you.
Soldier of the Pantheon is good against Burning Tree and Rakdos Cackler. And Precinct Captain pretty much holds the fort against everything. So I have to kill those guys. Those guys are, like, must be killed.
Yeah.
And I guess Judge's Familiar isn't that big of a deal, but...
Yeah. I did lose to that deck. I don't know if I said that for sure, but yeah, it was a tough fight. I also got mana screwed, but I don't want to make excuses about it.
No, I mean,
but your deck
against aggro, your deck hinges on playing Supreme Verdict on turn 4.
The most timely point.
Yeah, you get one turn to do it, and you have to have it on turn 4, and you didn't have it. So, yeah. Okay, so for me, I played black-blue, almost like a mono-blue Devotion variant, round 1. It was splashing black for ultimate price, Doom Blades, and some other sort of black removal out of sideboard. At least that's all I saw from it. So I beat that 2-0. I'm playing Boros aggro, by the way. So the list is pretty much mono-red aggro, but I'm doing 4 Temple of Triumph, 4 Sacred Foundry, 4 Chain to the Rocks, because that's a really important piece of spot removal for the deck, because red deck wins in general just has a hard time dealing with a lot of creatures in the format right now. Voice of Resurgence, Loxodon Smiter, Desecration Demon, Boros Reckoner. The list really, Master of Waves is actually a huge one. So the list really goes on and on of a lot of creatures that give the deck a hard time. But Chain to the Rocks really acts like, the Path the Exile effect that you want, that Swords of Plowshare, or whatever you want to describe it. It actually operates better than Swords because they don't gain life. So I really like how the card has been playing, and actually I haven't had anybody remove it yet.
Yeah.
So the thing is, against Boros aggro, do you really want to bring in enchantment removal?
Right. No.
It's like too dangerous. Because it's like, what if I don't see the Chain of the Rocks and you have a bunch of threats to deal with and you've got like 2 enchantment removal spells in your hand? Then you're in a bad place. So it's also essential for taking out Unflinching Courage on those turns where you can't, burn in response. If they get more than 1 hit, there's no recovery. Advent to the Worm, 1 mana to guarantee take care of the token. It's also very nice. Yep. So even then it doesn't matter if they deal with your enchantment or not. So I really like how that deck's been playing. Out of sideboard, Boros Charms. I'm thinking about swapping. I have a couple Goblin Shortcutters in the main deck right now, but I think I'm about ready to swap them out. So I think I'm going to main deck a couple Boros Charms just for that extra face burn or protection from Supreme Verdict if I need it.
Definitely.
Or even Anger of the Gods. Either one. So that's, I really like the deck a lot. It plays well. It's got some hot draws, 4 Mutavaults. It's like 30 creatures right now with the 2 Shortcutters. Because it's like Gorehouse Chainwalkers, Burning Trees, Fire Drinker Satyrs. What's the other 1-drop? Rakdos Cackler. So you have 2 1-drop, 2 power guys, which is good. And your 2-drops are essential. So the Burning Tree Emissaries take games over, Fire Fist Striker, Gorehouse Chainwalker, just to guarantee you maximize that value off your turn 2 emissary. Like the ideal turn progressions, if besides like quad Burning Tree Emissaries, is like turn 1 either Cackler or Satyr, turn 2 play a Mutavault and Fire Fist Striker, and I've had that a lot, and that's really good. You have 3 creatures on turn 2, one of which is a land, and it guarantees that you can stop a blocker on turn 3 and get in for at least 6. So a lot of times if I'm getting in for 6 on turn 3, I feel really confident about the game. Like the lightning strikes and shocks at that point can really clean up. And as long as I get in just a few more points of damage, it's usually enough. So the deck's played well. So yeah, round 1, played against that blue-black, mono-blue sort of devotion-y thing. I beat that 2-0, just outraced it, and he was having some color issues as well. I think he was running Nykthos, so I'm not sure exactly what he was doing with that. But, I mean, mono-blue devotion, I could see it making sense, but I'm not sure what
you're ramping into.
Yeah, what he was using that mana for. I'm not sure. I didn't see it. Round 2, I played against black-white mid-range, and this was like Soldier of the Pantheon, but beyond that, Precinct Captain, and then we had Obsidian, Blood Baron of Viscopa, Spot Removal, Blind Obedience, which I'm not sure if it was out of sideboard or main deck, but that was actually playing reasonably well. He extorted me out one game. Yeah, it was annoying. But, I mean, that's a challenging match. Like I said, Soldier of the Pantheon, considering it locks down my Rakdos Cackler and locks down Burning Tree Emissary and gains life from both of them, it's a big threat on turn 1, so it needs to be dealt with. But also Precinct Captain is a big deal, because all my guys are pretty much 2 toughness, so I need my Fire Fist Striker to get by it, or burn spells. Because you don't even want it to crack back. Getting Soldier is no good either. So it is a challenging match. I was having a lot of mulliganing, unfortunately. See, my issue with losing to that deck is it's main decking 4 Thoughtseize, and it's also main decking at least a couple Read the Bones, probably 2. So the fact that he's running cards that deal damage to him, I feel bad losing those game 1s. I really shouldn't be losing those game 1s. That's where I'm supposed to clean up on them. And I was losing the game 1, so I was getting a little demoralized there. The mulligans were just a little bit. I was just getting the bad distribution hands where it was like relevant removal but no threats. Those threat light hands are just terrible for red deck, and you really have to aggressively mull if you don't have either. I mean, you can settle for a turn 2 threat, but make sure that you have enough turn 2 threats or enough threats in general where you can clean up with a lightning striker too. Like a burn heavy hand is just unacceptable. It's not enough pressure. So yeah, I lost to that round 2. Round 3, I played against green-white. Presumably, usually a really bad match for the deck because of unflinching courage and stuff like that. But my opponent, who was also a younger guy, he just was not drawing land. I think it was like game 1, he didn't see his second color, and then game 2, he saw each color, but like only 2 lands or something. So I got lucky against him, and I was able to I had some good turn progressions and took him out. And then round 4, I played against the bug deck that you played against, which he's a friend of ours, and at the beginning he even said he thinks I have a good matchup against him because I'm too fast for him. So I wasn't exactly sure what he was playing at the time, but I guess I'm inclined to agree because his threats were just a little bit later than they had to be. And like Jace is actually good against me, but I usually can kill Jace when he comes down. And if you're just hoping that Jace is going to buy you, more than 1 turn, you got to think again. It's not going to do more than that. I can usually take care of it by then. And you just didn't have enough life gain, I think, or ability to board wipe, stuff like that. So I just raced it. When it comes to like spot removal decks, I feel pretty good. It's really like the Supreme Verdict decks. So like what Jake's doing that you have to be real conscious of, which is also another reason why I want to make sure I'm main decking Boros Charms. I feel like that could really be a tide turn. They're tapping out for Supreme Verdict, so if you have enough threats on board by turn 3, you can just keep up the Boros Charm and play it cool. So, yeah, so I beat him, and then in top 8 I played against the black-white deck from round 2 that I lost against, and I lost again. So, once again losing game 1. So, kind of demoralized for that, but some lessons learned, and I think I'm still planning on main decking the Boros Charms. I'm not sure about more sideboard changes that I need to necessarily do. Mizium Mortars is actually just essential out of the sideboard, so depending on how our meta looks in a week or two, that might actually be a main deckable card. Blood Baron of Vizkopa, obviously a huge tide turner against me, either requiring 2 burn spells or Mizium Mortars, so Mizium Mortars taking that out is nice. Not a lot of people are playing Storm Breath Dragon right now, but if they were, Mizium Mortars is a very good answer for that.
Yeah.
Just seems like red's not a super popular color as, the main color of the deck. We have a couple black-white reds in the meta, as well as, the red-greens, red-green or mid-range sort of decks. But Storm Breath, I guess I just don't see it that much.
No, I don't either, actually.
I'm sure the red-green monsters deck must be playing those. So, I mean, Storm Breath's good. Have you lost to it at all yet, or anything like that?
I think I have lost to it once before, but just a game, I guess. I don't know.
It's got some relevant protection.
It's one of those that I usually am very quick to remove because it is such a huge threat, especially with its monstrosity ability.
Well, with you can't Detention Spirit, you can't
No, it has
Azorius
to
Charm
be
it.
Verdict or a black removal spell.
Yeah, so at least you're an Esper, so you've got the outs for it. But for me, I mean, I can't change the rocks it.
Yeah.
So I pretty much have to Mizium Mortars it. So if Stormbreath Dragon starts popping up, I think Mizium Mortars could quickly become a main deck card for me, even though it doesn't deal any damage to a player. I've even overloaded a couple times with, a 22 land deck. You can still get to 6 mana and get some huge value there too. But that reminds me, actually, I got flooded against the black-white mid-range deck, and I remember I like Mizium Mortars for value and was still like too far behind. So seeing too many lands is obviously no good for. I feel like Jake's deck can, obviously recover a lot faster or get rewards from that because he's running the Sphinx's Revelations, and he's running like the Aetherling that he wants to have 1,000,000 mana and still be able to keep up Dissolve and stuff like that. Like typically when you're winning, how many lands do you have in play? Like 10 or something?
At least, usually.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I'm finishing games, I have like 3 or 4 typically. So it just goes to show you that when you're overloading Mizium Mortars, you're usually not in a good place. The reason that it's being played in the deck is very much as a 2-mana removal spell for important creatures. But like I said, the Chain of the Rocks, real MVP for me still. If I didn't have that, I really don't think I could beat Master of the Waves. And I still think the mono blue devotion list is relatively popular. I also like my list because it's good against the mono black devotion deck. The mono black devotion deck main decks the Thought Seizes, so they're more prepared for like an Esper Control or another mid-range match. And Pack Rat is just not a big deal at all because you're running Shocks and Lightning Strikes and Chain to the Rocks. So I really like how that felt against Mono Black Devotion, which is a popular archetype. Mono Blue, now that I have the Chain to the Rocks, I actually feel good about that matchup too. Although I should mention Frostburn Weird is just good spell. Good devotion spell for your Thassa, even good for your Purphoros, so I could see if anybody starts playing Purphoros, kind of sad no one is yet. I don't know how to spell it.
It's always at the end.
Oh. So if anybody starts playing Purphoros, I'm kind of surprised that one didn't pan out.
I think it's one that actually will get better later. I think there's something there. Like Assemble the Legion and Purphoros is really good together, and so is Elspeth.
Yeah. Why isn't that being done now?
It's just, I think there's pieces of it that are just missing right now. Even though it would be so easy to play.
Just Assemble and Purphoros.
Yeah, and then you could also play
Elspeth too.
Anger of the Gods. Yeah.
Elspeth's sweet with him.
But like Anger of the Gods and Mizium Mortars would totally be playable in that deck too.
Because the later you go, you're you're winning. And the fact that it's got the pump effect on it.
Yeah. It just shocks when you bring guys out. So even if you're Anger of the Gods away your guys all the time to clear the board, it doesn't matter as long as they shocked when they came out.
Mm-hmm.
I like Perforos a lot.
Yeah, just really surprised.
Mm-hmm.
He's not seeing any play. Why don't we just quickly look at some Star Cities, see if anything's standing out as looking cool. Something unusual. Take a look here. Let's see if we recognize all these lists. All right, we've got a white-red aggro. That's already unusual. Red-white devotion.
Oh, sweet. There, that might have the Perforos in it right there.
Let's check it out. So this list is doing no Perforos.
It
So
has
the
one on the
okay.
sideboard.
So this is for Fanatic. This one is red devotion for Fanatic, and we're looking at stuff like Ash Zealot, Boros Reckoner, Burning Tree, Frostburn Weird, Cackler, Storm Breath. Cool. This looks actually like a fun list. Main decking 3 Hammer Perforos. Obviously a deck that was looking at some Esper Control matchups. Main deck Mizium Mortars as well. So, well, this is a mid-range deck that's looking very powerful against aggro because of the emissaries that bump out creatures and the Reckoners, which can be, you know...
Playing Nykthos, too.
Actually, it's doing Cackler, so it is maybe being a little bit aggressive, but not really. It's like aggro mid-range. It's close to aggro, but like it can be aggressive because of the emissaries and the Cacklers.
Why are they even doing white? Just for Chain to the Rocks?
Yeah, a one-of? That's kind of strange. Sideboard, Assembled Legion. So.
And 3 more Chain to the Rocks out of the sideboard.
I see.
And Boros Charms. Okay. I was wondering why they were running Boros Guildgate, actually.
So I'm assuming against control he goes into the Assemble Perforos plan, probably. 4 Boros Charm, too. Maybe that's... He must swap a lot of stuff for control. I bet this deck goes out of Fanatic mode at that point. So once, because Fanatic is actually terrible
and Mortars
against...
is terrible against control, too.
Yeah, I feel like Fanatic is terrible against control. So this deck's got some interesting aspects to it. It's also doing Nykthos, which makes sense, I guess. You can get to your monstrosity faster.
Yeah. Definitely makes...
The Reckoner. The Reckoners really make it...
more sense
and the emissaries.
Perforos, I guess. To do multiple pumps.
Yeah. No, that's true. It's just between the Reckoner, he's got a lot of devotion going on in here. So I think the minimum before you even get value on Nykthos is 2 or 4. You need 4 devotion before you even begin getting value on Nykthos. Despite that, Nykthos is worth a lot of money right now, like $11. So people have a lot of confidence in it. It's also a legendary land, and with the new legendary rule, which should kind of point out, you can do the 2 tap, get 5 devotion, play another one, sack the other one,
and
so,
tap the new one for 5 more.
Yeah.
Using 2 of that.
Yes.
So you have 8 total.
So with new legend rule, you can feel a little more comfortable maybe running 4 Nykthos, because it doesn't matter. Some turns you can just get Omega Ramp. I guess, where are his real mana sinks? Stormbreath Dragon, Hammer Perforos.
That's what I was saying.
Frostburn Weird, I guess, a little bit.
But not Nykthos. Not activated Nykthos to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's
I
really
think
just
he's
Stormbreath Dragon.
I think it's a matter of he's probably consistently getting 4 guys out, so he's at least making this a double land, and maybe that's just enough to make it good.
Worthwhile.
Yeah, probably. This deck actually looks pretty good against my deck. I feel like this would main deck play very well against me. Having both the Frostburn Weirds and the Reckoners is pretty powerful. So this looks like a pretty good deck, in my opinion. Let's look at this white-red aggro list that won those. Sounds fun.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we're looking at Daring Skyjack, Soldiers of the Pantheon, Precinct Captain, Frontline Medic, Dryad Militant, Boros Elite, Arrestor, 4 Boros Charms, 4 Brave, Spear of Heliod, 3 Ajani. Interesting. 4 Mutavault. Okay, so this is similar to the mono white list that the guy in our meta, the guy that beat you, was playing. Difference is the red for the Boros Charm. Is there anything else that...
Yeah, Helix out of the board and Mizium Mortars out of the board.
Interesting.
And Wear Tear.
And Burning Earth.
Oh, wow.
So he's got some options on the sideboard. I think I like his idea. Obviously the idea was, it worked out for him. The 4 Boros Charms giving you protection from Supreme Verdict, and the 4 Brave the Elements giving you protection from
Spot Removal.
And Anger of the Gods.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Stuff like that. So sweeper protection up the wazoo, and with Frontline Medic too, it's nice to be able to just attack into anything. The Daring Skyjack's turning that on. So this deck looks fun. I'm interested. The Ajani is actually really intriguing. I like the idea of it with Daring Skyjack quite a bit. It's like a 6 damage out of nowhere. Same with Frontline Medic. And then the pump effect. I'm wondering, I mean, 3 of Johnny is quite a bit, so I'm wondering how that played for him overall throughout the day. What are your feelings on a Johnny? I've lost to him before.
I mean, he's good, I guess.
He doesn't see much play, does he?
No, he does not.
I like how he works with
This is the right
Mutavault.
deck with him.
I like
for sure.
I like the idea of using Mutavault to tap itself when you don't have anything else to do,
and
pumping
put a
it.
counter on it.
Yeah.
And then next turn swing for 6 with it. I mean, he's good with this kind of deck. This is the deck that he belongs in.
Yeah.
So
he's a little underwhelming. Like, where does he shine? I guess that's the real question.
It's got to be an aggressive deck like this. Like,
no, I mean, where does he? I guess I mean, what matchup is he ideal? Like, what matchup is a Johnny ideal in? That's like my question. Because obviously you're right. If
I think
any
it's
archetype's
probably
going to play
opposing aggro decks that don't have flyers
as a way to just sort of go over the top race.
Yeah. I
guess I could see that. It also draws fire from aggro. Maybe sometimes
could potentially pump your guys out of range of stuff. I mean,
I don't know. I'm still a little unconvinced about a Johnny,
Yeah.
but this guy did win with it. So let's see if this Esper control player did anything unusual. Oh, main deck Blood Baron of Vizkopa.
Wow.
It's kind of intriguing.
And only one Elspeth.
One Elspeth. Couple thoughts. He's main deck. Are you doing that as well? How about Divination?
Although I had thought of it.
How many Heroes Downfall?
4.
Okay. And yeah, it's pretty essential. I understand. How many dissolves? Couple? 3. 4 detention sphere as well.
He's not doing any syncopate. Yeah. 4
Okay.
and 4.
No
3.
syncopates. How many of those are you doing? 2.
Just 2. Yeah.
Okay. So what are your feelings on Blood Baron?
It's good. I guess it's meta dependent. You know, I don't need it in my deck, I guess, but it is a good card.
Wow. What about the gainsays out of sideboard?
That's cool.
Are you intrigued by that?
Not 4 of them. If you're feeling like you're seeing that much mono blue devotion, you should just be playing some main deck or one main deck.
Yeah, that is weird.
I never like to do 4 in the sideboard. Like 3 would be enough. You already have 3 dissolves. You know, put Essence Scatter in.
Let's look at this mono red aggro list real quick. Ooh, a couple of Bravo Belmachas, really?
There you go.
All right, they're kind of a death trap. Founder Streak Denizen, Lightning Strikes, Shocks.
Pretty much standard issue.
Yep. Except for the Rubble Belts. I don't really like this list as much as what I'm running. Founder Street's cool, and sometimes. I don't think he pays off enough, though. So I'm surprised that that deck did as good as it did. Maybe we look at the green-white aggro list real quick. Experiment 1, Fleecemane Lion, Loxodon Smiter, Soldier of the Pantheon, Voice of Resurgence, Boon Satyr. Cool. A Johnny's here. Ooh, I like the idea of Boon Satyr and a Johnny. Bestow on something, then double strike it up. Advent of the Worm. Definitely good with the Johnny. God's Willing. So maybe this deck is where Johnny really shines, because then it's like, I guess that's tough. This is probably fast enough where Johnny is good in here, and this is only a 2-0. Mistcutter Hydra out of the sideboard. This card's been playing pretty well for people.
I really like that card.
Have you had to go toe-to-toe with that a couple times?
Yeah. And it's good.
You pretty much Supreme Verdict away as your only means? I mean, you can't
Downfall, I guess.
Oh yeah, Downfall. You just can't Azorius Charm it.
Can't do anything to it except for Hero's Downfall and Supreme Verdict.
Okay. So that card's pretty good. Celestial Flare, that's an interesting sideboard option. Huh. Unflinching Courage, definitely. Rootborn, Polykranos, a Johnny, another Johnny. I'd like to ask some questions about where a Johnny, what matchups are ideal for a Johnny. I'm curious about that. Okay. So I think that's a pretty good gauge. We'll just look at that. That's pretty fascinating, learning some stuff there. I like that Devotion deck actually quite a bit. That one, I think, out of all of them.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
This one caught my attention the most. I like his idea with the main deck Fanatic because it's so good in most matchups. Like I said, this looks very good against most aggro matches. I imagine this is a pretty good matchup against the mono white list too. And then sideboard against the control, he's got some decent plans going for him. A Symbols, Boros Charms, Purphoros. I like it. 4 Fire Drinker Satyr too, so he can even increase his
aggro. like go more aggressive.
Yeah, maybe he does that against control too. Maybe he drops these Storm Breaths, or maybe he drops Fanatics. He drops
I would
Chain to the
drop
Rocks. He
Fanatics.
drops Mizium Mortars.
Yeah.
He probably drops a Hammer, and he brings in the Satyrs, the Symbol, Boros, Purphoros, maybe. It's a lot of stuff to bring in. I'd like to ask this guy about how he's sideboarded. All right, let's go to our new section, which we're going to search a good name for. We don't have a good name for it yet, but for now, weirdo card names. Real good name there. All right, so we thought we'd start with, this is the one that immediately I thought of when I thought of starting this section. So there's a couple. Bouncing Beebles and Bubbling Beebles. So we'll read them real quick. Bouncing Beebles is a 2 and a blue 2/2, and it can't be blocked as long as the defending player controls an artifact. And then Bubbling Beebles is 5 mana 3/3, and it can't be blocked as long as the defending player controls an enchantment. And then we've got Bursting Beebles, but this one is unhinged, but we'll read it anyway. 2 and a blue 2/2. It's unblockable as long as the defending player controls 2 or more non-land permanents that share an artist. Nice. The funny thing is, this is actually probably pretty useful because you do too. We tend to run, well, me especially, because I've only got like 2 different types of lands in my deck: Mutavaults and Mountains.
But these are non-land permanents. The Bursting Beebles.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I guess it's still good against stuff that runs, more than 1 ofs or whatever. If people are running 4 ofs, anything in a deck, there's a chance that it's going to be activated. But we don't need to talk too much about the unhinged one. What were the others like at their time? Were they played in
Beebles?
Were they played in limited?
Neither one was played in constructed.
How do they feel about in limited?
I think Bubbling Beebles is actually the better one for for limited because it was an enchantment block.
Okay.
But I think that either one was fine to play.
Now let's talk about what are Beebles. Are there any explanation?
I personally believe that they are a creation of Jeff Maracala. If you look at Equilibrium from Exodus, it's the first time they show them.
So to describe what they are, maybe you want to describe what they are. I'm having a hard time.
You need to look at the Exodus version.
Okay.
So they are little pink things. I guess if you were going to call them something relatable to Magic terms now, homunculi is kind of what they are.
They almost look like little mice with their ears, but their
like
faces are very comic and...
Yeah, it's very much a comic thing.
Are they seem like they're they use machinery or tools or something, or they're associated with...
They're related to the Tolarian Academy.
Oh, okay.
Way. So either they're magically crafted entities that have an affection, like what's the word? Not affection, but
affectation.
Sure, whatever. They like machines in some way. I don't know why Bubbling Beebles likes enchantments, but Bouncing Beebles likes machines.
Yeah, definitely strange pictures, but I thought we'd start off with them. I guess, like you say, they're not like... I actually didn't know exactly what they did. So they're not like highly playable cards.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of weird blue. I mean, not like totally out of the realm of blue at all.
They're not bad blue design. What they are is weird art. Like,
Definitely weird art and definitely weird name.
Weird creature type. I mean, Beeble. Like,
they're definitely the only Beeble creatures.
Yeah. So it's just like...
You can make a Beeble deck with changelings.
That's why I really think that this is also from the era when they used to just say, we're going to give you the name for this piece, you provide us the art. Not, here's a description of what we expect the piece of art to be.
I see. So you're saying they were like Bouncing Beeble.
Yeah, so here is the list of cards that we want you to do. Bouncing Beebles, Bubbling Beebles, this, that, Oh, well, I'll make a Beeble. Or whatever,
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll start with that, and next week we'll maybe find some more, because I have a feeling we're gonna run into some real weirdo names.
Yeah.
But follow us on iTunes. We're on that. Subscribe to us on iTunes. That helps us a lot. I want to start gauging how many listeners we actually have for this podcast because I'm not sure. And follow us on Twitter at SeemsGoodMagic. Email me, mortarpod at SeemsGoodMagic.com. Any questions, concerns. Still working on the board game. Making some progress on that. I'll let you know more information as it comes. Still going to be a few months yet, but I'm really excited to be making a prototype here soon and trying that out. So still in playtest mode. I really think you guys are going to like this game a lot. All right, so I guess that's all I've got. Live stream times, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 7 p.m. Central Time. Sorry I missed last week, which would have been, what is that, the 29th, 28th, or I guess I can just look at the calendar quick. I missed it on October, what is it, 31st and 29th. So I missed those 2 days. I apologize for that. I'm going to try not to miss this week at all, if possible. I have been kind of getting my ass kicked in Theros drafts a little bit. I mean, I've been doing okay. I've been doing just Swiss drafts. It's a challenging format. I've had a few comments from people saying they've been hitting snags like they've been watching like pro players losing a lot too. Like apparently LSV has not been doing too hot in Theros, so that's kind of interesting to me. I can't really describe why I've been having so many problems. It does seem like there's plenty of strategies to do. I've seen almost everything. I guess red-black seems a little bit weak. Even though they have the Mantar strategy, I haven't seen it played too much. I do see a lot of green-blue. I see a lot of red-white. So the red-white aggro, I've been playing that in the last couple. One I went 1-2, and one I went 2-1. So I definitely think it's there. People I see there's a lot of overextension on stuff because of how many enchantments there are. So people will play like multiple ordeals, and they're not afraid to like go overboard. And especially with like Dragon Mantle and Ordeal of no, it's not, a Shield of Heliod.
Yeah.
All of those cantrip auras, people are not afraid to just bust those out. Whatever the black one is, that's +1/+0.
Scourge Mark.
Yeah. So all those cards seem to be
it's Chosen of Heliod is that one.
Chosen. Okay. But all those cantrip auras, highly played. People are not afraid to just dump them out. Fate Foretold.
Yeah.
People love that card.
I like that one.
Yeah, that one's been playing fairly well for people.
That's good in Heroic.
Definitely. So I'm learning things. I think I valued those cards lower just because I'm just so not used to picking auras. So they're starting to get on my radar a little more as higher picks. And I think honestly, Jake, you remember like weeks ago I was saying it's a mid-range format. I'm maybe starting to change my mind. It's tough. I think aggro. I mean, there's definitely the mid-range strategy, but I think aggro, there's enough of it where you can make it work. You just have to be pushing for red-white and finding your Titan strength. God's Willing is huge.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Chosen by Heliod and even Dragon Mantle replacing itself, sometimes they can be enough to do it, even though it's just a fire-breathing effect. Getting a fire-breathing effect plus a cantrip for one is actually good enough
that is really
in
good.
limited. So a lot to learn still, but I've been getting a little demoralized, but it's back and forth. So hopefully there's still how many months left before they're dropping the next set?
Oh, February, I think, or maybe late January.
Okay, so I mean we're looking at least a couple more months of grinding it out and learning some more stuff. So all right, thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate it, and we'll see you next week.
Later.